Inside every single one of our cells, there's this entire universe of activity. We're talking trillions of molecules constantly interacting, building things, sending signals, and basically powering our entire bodies. For modern medicine, just trying to understand this incredibly complex dance is one of the biggest challenges we've ever faced. So think about what it takes to develop a new drug. It's kind of like you're trying to design a super specific key that can fit into one very particular lock, say a protein, to stop a disease in its tracks. For decades, this has been a slow, really painstaking process of just trial and error. But what if that all changed? What if you could see the exact shape of any lock and any key and exactly how they're supposed to fit together? Well, get this. That blueprint? It's not science fiction anymore. A revolutionary new AI model is now giving scientists a view of the molecular machinery of life that is completely unprecedented. To really get why this is such a huge deal, we first need to understand the fundamental puzzle that scientists have been chipping away at for decades. Because, to fix what's broken in our bodies, we first need to be able to see it clearly. For about half a century, one of the biggest pieces of this whole puzzle was the protein folding problem. So proteins start out as these simple chains of stuff called amino acids. But to do their jobs, they have to fold up into these incredibly complex 3D shapes. And just predicting that final shape from the initial sequence, that was a grand challenge in biology for 50 years. And then, just a few years ago, we got the first major breakthrough, a tool that gave us this stunning, but still incomplete solution. And that tool was AlphaFold 2. When it dropped in 2021, it just burst onto the scene and pretty much solved the protein folding problem. All of a sudden, scientists could predict the structure of almost any single protein with unbelievable precision. It was a genuine revolution, no exaggeration. And don't just take my word for it. As the researchers behind this new work put it in their paper, AlphaFold 2 kicked off a whole new era. It opened the door for a huge range of applications, from designing new drugs to engineering brand new proteins. But here's the catch. A protein rarely acts alone. Real life happens when proteins interact with everything else, with DNA, RNA, with little molecules like drugs, and with ions. So while AlphaFold 2 could see the protein perfectly, it was basically blind to everything it was interacting with. It could only see one piece of a much, much larger puzzle. And this brings us to the next great leap forward, a new system that goes way beyond just proteins to see the entire molecular picture all at once. Everybody, welcome to AlphaFold 3. This really shows you the huge jump in what this thing can do. Where AlphaFold 2 was laser-focused just on proteins, AlphaFold 3 is a unified model. It predicts the structure of entire molecular complexes. Proteins, DNA, RNA, drugs, ions, all jumbled together. It's a move from being a specialist tool to a generalist that's trying to model the whole shebang, the entire machinery of life. And it doesn't just do more, it does it way, way better. When it comes to predicting how proteins interact with all those other types of molecules, AlphaFold 3 is showing at least a 50% improvement over what we had before. Now, for a scientist, that kind of leap in accuracy, wow, that can be the difference between years of failed experiments and a direct shot at a brand new discovery. In fact, this is what's really wild. When you put AlphaFold 3 up against AI models that were specifically designed for just one job, like predicting how a drug binds to a protein, AlphaFold 3 just blows them out of the water. It's a generalist that absolutely crushes the specialists. It's like having an athlete who doesn't just compete in the decathlon, but actually wins the gold medal in every single individual event. So how in the world does it do this? Well, the answer is in this really powerful and kind of elegant new way of building the 3D structure itself. So the core technology here is called a diffusion model, and instead of trying to build the structure piece by piece, it does something totally different. It starts with a completely random cloud of atoms. Basically just noise. And then, step by step, it denoises this cloud, pulling all the atoms into their correct positions until a perfect, precise structure emerges. Yeah. This 3-step process is the key. You start with total chaos, just a jumble. Then the AI systematically refines that chaos, guided by the basic rules of biology and chemistry. And from all that noise, an ordered, super accurate 3D structure just appears. It's a generative process, literally creating the structure from almost nothing. And this diffusion approach is what makes AlphaFold 3 so insanely powerful.
Because it's working directly with the raw positions of the atoms, it's way more flexible than the last version. It can handle the full complexity of pretty much any chemical you throw at it, without needing a bunch of special rules for each one. That's how it can generalize across the entire world of biomolecules.
So, okay, this tool is clearly a game changer. But like with any powerful new technology, it's really important to have a clear-eyed view of both its incredible potential and its current limitations. There is just no doubt about it. AlphaFold 3 is kicking off a whole new era of digital biology. The ability to model these interactions this accurately, it promises to massively speed up the design of new medicines and help us answer fundamental questions about how our cells work that have been out of reach until now. At the same time, the researchers are really clear about what it can't do yet. For one, it predicts a single static snapshot, a still photo, not the dynamic way molecules actually move and wiggle and change shape. It can also sometimes hallucinate or just invent structure in places where there isn't any. It also occasionally makes some basic chemistry mistakes, like creating a mirror image version of a molecule that wouldn't actually work in real life. And for some really, really tough problems, like figuring out exactly how our antibodies grab onto viruses, it can still take a lot of predictions to get it right. It's a huge advance, for sure, but it's not a perfect, all-knowing oracle. So, the blueprint is finally in our hands. We have a tool that can visualize the fundamental interactions of life with a clarity we could only dream of before. The question is no longer if we can see them. The question now is, what are we going to choose to look at first? What deep biological mysteries are just sitting there, waiting for us to solve them?